Can you believe that this cutting board is not made out of wood? It's actually made out of rubber. It's called our perfect rubber, help me out here, perfect rubber prepping, wait, perfect rubber prepping.
Perfect prep rubber cutting board.
Okay, perfect prep rubbing. Hey, it's Nea. Welcome back to another recipe drop. Today I'm making a Skagen potato, and if you haven't had Skagen, it's pretty much a cold shrimp salad with mayonnaise, crème fraîche, dill, red onion, some lemon juice. It's delicious, and today we're putting it in a baked potato, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is bake the potatoes. I preheated the oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and here I have some russet potatoes. I am just going to prick these with a fork all around. This is really important because as the potatoes bake, there's going to be steam that kind of builds up between the skin and the potato, and if you don't have little holes where the steam can go out of, then you risk the potato exploding in your oven, and I feel like the last thing you want to do is have to clean potato out of your oven. Russet potatoes are the best for baking or when they're going in the oven, and that's because they're pretty low in moisture and also have a high starch content. That makes for a really fluffy inside and also crispy skin. I'm baking these without wrapping them in foil. I just feel like this leads to really crispy skin, and because the oven is at such a high temperature, we really don't need to wrap them in foil. So now I'm placing them on a cooling rack on a rim baking sheet. You don't have to use a cooling rack if you don't have one, but I find that it allows the heat to kind of circulate around the potato, and that's gonna make the skin all around the potato nice and crispy. So I'm actually gonna bake these twice. This first time they're going in for 20 minutes. And you'll also notice that I didn't do any seasoning on them yet. That's what we're gonna do after the first bake before they go in for their second bake. Now I'm gonna boil some shrimp for our Skagen salad. These are just regular thawed, peeled shrimp from the grocery store. I actually prefer to use cold water shrimp, and if you're lucky and if you can find them in the US, then definitely use those, good for you. But I had a really hard time finding them, so honestly any shrimp will do. But the cold water shrimp is preferred in a Skagen salad. So now I'm gonna poach these. So you wanna bring a pot of water to a boil, and I'm gonna season this with a generous pinch of salt because we wanna season the shrimp from the inside out. So now, right before we add the shrimp, we're gonna kill the heat. These are gonna go in for about 4 to 5 minutes until they're super opaque and kind of white. And then cover them with a lid. Forgot one. I also left the tail on because the peel also adds a bit of flavor to the shrimp. While the shrimp are poaching, I just prepared an ice bath that we're going to transfer into after. This is just going to stop the cooking process and keep the shrimp from overcooking. Now I'm going to make the dressing for the Skagen salad. We have about 1/3 cup of mayonnaise, and I like a really mayonnaise heavy dressing for this, but you can really tinker around with the crème fraîche and the mayonnaise, and if you like crème fraîche more, then use more crème fraîche. So here I have 2 tablespoons of crème fraîche. And I'm gonna add a tablespoon of chopped red onion. And then about 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh dill. I'm gonna leave a little bit left over for garnish later. I say in the recipe to add a teaspoon of lemon juice, but it's one of those things that I just don't really feel like you have to measure all the time, because if you have a little extra, then it's still gonna taste really good. So about a teaspoon of lemon juice. Sometimes I like to go more. Little freshly ground pepper to taste, and a little bit of kosher salt. It's really important, I think, that you have a salt container that's big enough for you to be able to reach right into. So a generous pinch or 2. It's very good. I'm gonna get the excess lemon juice out of this with our little floozer. This is the best juicer ever. Ooh, shrimp are done. They are nice and pink, and they almost look like lobster tails. Okay, I'm gonna dump this hot water out. And they're going directly into the ice water. Don't skip this step. I'm gonna let the shrimp sit in here until they are completely cooled. Then I'm gonna pat them dry, and we're gonna cut them into pieces. Before I take the potatoes out, I'm gonna melt a tablespoon of butter. So I'm gonna use this to just brush the potatoes. You could also use olive oil or avocado oil instead if you want. Potatoes are coming out. Oh, it's so hot. So as you can see, they don't really look cooked. It doesn't really look like anything special. After this next round, they're gonna look super nice and crispy, and we're gonna season them with some salt and pepper here too. So just brush on a generous amount of butter onto the top. And the melted butter will also go into these little fork holes that we made. Skagen salad is actually traditionally eaten on toast, but I did have Skagen salad on a potato a few years ago when I went to Sweden, and I thought it was really delicious, and I felt like it was more of a meal. So that's why it's going into potato this time. Don't be shy with the salt here. Okay, these are gonna go in the oven for another 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the size. While the potatoes bake for the second time, I am gonna peel the shrimp. They're nice and cool. I'm gonna pour them out on a paper towel just to pat them dry. This is just to remove any of that excess water so that we don't get extra liquid in our dressing. I'm gonna try to remove the tails without removing too much of the meat that's inside the tail as well. Instead of just yanking the tail off, you wanna come close and I'll show you. I like to kind of just put my thumb underneath here and snap the tail open, and then you don't waste all that extra meat underneath. Yeah, you wanna come peel some shrimp? You want me to touch shrimp?
I want to try what you're talking about, honestly. It sounds
Right?
kind of fun.
Just like
This
snapping
is
it
like,
off.
This for me is like the Cajun way, you know?
What, the pinch and pull?
Pinch and pull, dude. A little crawfish boil.
Oh my god, the things I would do for a crawfish boil.
How
I
do
feel like
I
we
know?
should have a crawfish boil here. All right, I think that's all. Thanks, friend. I like to cut my shrimp into pretty small pieces because if you've ever had a Skagen salad in Sweden or in Scandinavia, you know that the shrimp are really small, and even sometimes then they cut them into pieces. Also, can you believe that this cutting board is not made out of wood? It's actually called the Perfect Prep Rubber Cutting Board on Food52, and it has these really nice divots on the side, which makes it super easy to lift. It's antimicrobial, and it's really easy on the knives, which, I mean, if you want to keep your knives sharp, that's super important. Skagen salad is a really popular like appetizer too, and it's kind of gained this like fanciness around it in Sweden. So anytime my grandma has like an event or anything, or we're over for dinner and she wants to make a fun, fancy appetizer, she'll almost always make a Skagen salad, and she'll put them on little crostini, which is also very good.
What's your favorite way to eat shrimp?
I think my favorite way to eat shrimp is when I do go to my grandma's in Sweden. She will buy a whole bag of frozen cold water shrimp, and they'll come fully shelled with their heads on already. And she'll thaw them, and then she'll put them in a big bowl. And then kind of as an appetizer, before we eat dinner, we will sit there, we'll have the bowl of shrimp, and then we'll have our jar of mayo, some lemons, and then also some just toasted bread on the side. And so we'll sit there and we'll peel the shrimp, and we'll eat them just like as is, or we'll put them on a sandwich. And yeah, they're so good, and they taste so fresh and salty, and it's delicious. Okay, I'm gonna add all the shrimp into the dressing. This is also a really easy recipe to double if you want to make a ton. It already makes a lot, but shrimp is such a good vessel for a dressing like this because they're so mild in flavor. They just really soak up that like lemony and dilly oniony flavor from the dressing. Okay, I'm gonna grab the potatoes out of the oven. I'm gonna also test them with a knife just to make sure they're done. You can even hear a little crunch. They look really nice and crispy and delicious. So you could either wait until these have cooled down a little bit. I like to serve my potatoes steaming hot, so I am just gonna cut right into them. I think of these kind of as the Swedish version of an English jacket potato. A jacket potato might really truly be just the fact that like a potato is cut in 4 ways and then open up like a jacket. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna cut into the potato lengthwise, and then also do a crosswise cut. And you only want to go about halfway down. Make sure not to cut all the way through. It's really easy to do. If you wanted to serve a big platter of these as an appetizer for like a cocktail hour or something, you could cut them in half and then fluff up the inside, and then serve them almost as potato skins with the Skagen salad on top. Before I fluff them open, I'm going to transfer them to a serving plate. Now I'm just gonna go in with a fork and gently fluff up the inside. And again, going back to the reason why I chose russet potatoes for this and why they're so good for baked potatoes is you can see that it's super light and airy and is fluffing up really well. Although this would be really good cold, what I like about serving them really hot is that the steam from the potatoes is kind of gonna melt the crème fraîche and the mayonnaise into like a more saucy dressing, and it's gonna get soaked up by all that fluffy potato. Now I'm gonna fill them with the Skagen salad. I like to be really generous, so the more the better. This step is not necessary, but to make these a little more fancy, I like to top them with salmon roe. This I just got at the store. It's nothing crazy fancy, but it just adds a little bit extra, which is really nice. So I'm just gonna add a little dollop of this onto each potato. It's really nice and salty, but if you don't like that, obviously leave it out. But I just love how it adds that nice pop of color as well. Then I'm gonna go in with a little bit more dill on top. I like to do some big pieces. Then I have some little lemon slice wedges, mostly just for garnish. I think it's cute. Again, a little nice pop of color with the green and the orange. And then I like to take just a little bit more lemon juice and squeeze it right on top for more citrusy goodness. Little salt and pepper. These are also a really good like picnic food. So you could bake the potatoes and then make the salad and then pack them separately and then assemble them once you get to the picnic. I feel like that would be kind of like a party. I don't know, I feel like it'd be fun. I feel like people would be impressed that you brought something like this to a picnic. Cool, I'm gonna ask our fellow Swede if she wants to taste. Anna, do you want to come taste?
Yes, please. Attack.
Did you have a lot of Skagen salad like, growing up?
Yep. It's also like kind of my go-to order. Like,
when you go to lunch there?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Because it's like the shrimp, you just like can't compare. They're just,
no,
like,
those little tiny guys.
they're so good.
Yeah, they're really good.
Okay, I have a fork and a knife for you
Thank
there.
you.
Thanks for coming to eat.
And literally anytime. Delightful.
Brings me back to my grandma's
That's so
lunch
nice.
table.
My grandmother didn't make this for us, but I've eaten it a lot, and it's really good. This is really good.
Thank you.
I never thought to make it on this side of the water,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, with American shrimp.
Exactly, it is different,
It is.
but it's still really good.
Thank you. Thank you for watching Recipe Drop. You can find this Skagen potato recipe in the description below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.